Can anybody check? Is my nose clean?
You're looking great.
Okay.
Looks good.
Thank you.
You're going to have to refilm that whole thing. The answer was no, right?
I don't.
Do you see yourself as a better player now, mentally, maybe than physically? Not saying you're bad physically either, but coaches just talking about how you've grown to play the game even better now as a mental player.
Man, I just think each year the responsibility of a player is to identify weaknesses and keep your strengths sharp. And that's what I try to do, is I try to identify the flaws in my game or areas of opportunities where I can grow and get better. And that's why I spent my off season I dedicated to. So my goal is that I show up a better player than I was last year.
Do you have to kind of humble yourself a little bit as a pro, not just you, but the guys that are getting older but still want to play the game at a high level, by recognizing where your faults are and where you have to get better to get you playing at this level?
I think just humility is a part of life. You have to. You have to understand that we're people with two natures. So you may have some things that you do really well, and that's one side. But there's also some areas where you do things really bad, and you got to be able to identify them. You got to point them, and you got to expose them. And I got a great team around me, and so they're constantly looking at my game and realizing where areas of opportunity are for us to grow. I think that's what has allowed me to have the longevity in the game that I've had, and I don't take it for granted. So I'm always just trying to figure out where the edge is for me in my competition and how I can take it to another level. And me taking it to another level that allows the team to go to another level.
Have there been areas that you've noticed, like a drop-off, so to say, that you've been able to kind of like counteract as you no longer make up for those?
No, I think that the game is in good hands. So when I say the game is in good hands, I think that there are players that are coming into the league that are dominant. And when you look at guys who are younger than myself, when you look at a Fred Warner, when you look at a Roquan Smith, when you look at a Matt Milano, those guys are playing great football. So for me, it's not as much as a drop-off as, like if you look at like the 100-meter dash, the times get faster. And so for me, it's how do I get faster? How do I get better? How do I get sharper? And so it's like I'm not paying attention to areas where I wasn't doing it as good as I was doing it before. I don't have the luxury to do things worse. I have to do them better. So if you look at the numbers I had in 2022 versus the numbers I had in 2023, I hope you look at the stat line and they're better. That's how I measure my growth.
Yeah, we talked to Cam yesterday, and he kind of emphasized this idea of urgency, right? Like you're 35 years old, you still feel like you have time, but not as much time as you once had. Does that affect your approach at all? How do you kind of come into a season?
I think time is an illusion. How much time does anybody have? You know, if your life could be gone tomorrow, and so in that case you're old, or you could live to be 100 years old. You know, and so that in that case you're young, and so I think time is an illusion because we don't know how much time we really have, and so all you know is that you have is right now, and I love where we are at right now, and that's what I'm focused on.
What about Cam specifically? I mean, he had a down year by his standards and obviously battled some injury too. What have you seen about his approach and what he's still got left to prove out here?
Man, Cam Jordan is Cam Jordan. I mean, that's a Hall of Fame player. He's the heartbeat of the defense. He's the heart of New Orleans. I mean, when you think New Orleans Saints football, you're going to think Cam Jordan. And he's been one of the greatest ever do it. And so I think the team just needs Cam to be Cam. And his rest going to take care of itself. And so he's a captain on our unit. I know he's going to have himself ready to go. He's going to have the unit ready to go. We're going to be straight.
Demario, do you feel like you guys are playing with a chip on your shoulder? Cam and both Derek discussed that yesterday, maybe because they haven't been in the playoffs the last 3 seasons.
I think that's what may be the elephant in the room. You know, we have underperformed. You know, it's like I think that the message I would give to our fan base is we know we haven't been good enough. We haven't put something on the field that the city should be proud of, and that's why we're here locked in and we're working. And so the mindset is we got all the right pieces, and it's on us to go and execute. I think we're going to put a team on the field that the city is going to be proud of. What I need the city to understand is we got the right coaches, we got the right pieces, we got the right offense, we got the right quarterback, we got the right defense, and it's on us to go out and execute. And so we take that onus. We have underperformed, all of us, the entire organization. We haven't done what we're supposed to do. But that's why we locked in and we putting the work in so that the results can show. And the only way we're going to get there is if we put the work in and continue to stack the bricks. But I think we got a process that the city would be proud of, and I believe that process is going to give us the results.
With that being said, has it felt different than in past in these OTAs, minicamp, and even these first 2 practices? Can you kind of feel that?
I think the energy is different. The vibe is different. I think it's a mindset. It's a mindset shift. I think everyone just understands what we've done hasn't been good enough, and so that requires us to do more. And so our mindset is, what are we sacrificing and what are we doing that we haven't done?
Demario, I want to ask you a couple of Mississippi questions. What's your role still with kids that play high school football in Jackson and trying to kind of follow in your footsteps? How involved are you in that still?
Still heavily involved. We got a group of kids that we mentor in Mississippi, and we got a group of kids that we mentor in New Orleans. And our goal is to make sure that they're well-rounded individuals. We want to make sure that they're mentally strong, they're emotionally strong, they're spiritually strong, as well as being physically strong. We do help with their recruiting process, but our goal is not just to get them to college, but it's to make sure they get to college and they're the right type of young men, and that they lead us when they show up. We got some guys who are excelling at a high level, and they're top guys that they position around the nation, and we got some that are 4.0, 4.2 students in the classroom and not doing as well on the field, but they're leading in the classroom. And so our goal is to focus on those individuals who want to be change makers, not just in their environment but around the world, and give them the tools to help them get there.
Does it help that you played at Brandon, and so kids that are even coming into that school are kind of seeing what you did there, and I can make it too, and even surrounding schools in that area? Yeah,
I mean, I blazed the trail in a lot of spaces, but it was guys before me. You think about guys like Jairus Norwood that came from where I was at Brandon. When I go, it's guys that came after me, Jonathan Mingo, Gardner Minshew, and so yeah, I was part of the trailblazing. But my goal for young men and women is write your own story. Don't just be inspired by my dedication, be inspired by my process. But your story doesn't have to look like my story. You don't have to be a replica. You don't have to follow that mold, because there's so many different things that make you unique. And so I think that's how we kind of approach it.
Mario, we see the energy that Hodges has on the field. You can hear him from half a mile away. What's he like for y'all in that position room, and how has he maybe even brought the best out of you since he's coached?
Man, he's definitely one of the best position coaches I've ever been around. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a D coordinator in a year or a couple years. I mean, just a great defensive mind. He really understands the game. He really understands the details, and he's the reason why we've had productive linebackers, for as many years as I've been here. He's played a big part of that, and so I just think he helps us take it to another level, and he preaches consistency. He doesn't stop. He brings the juice every day. He makes sure we bring the juice. He's just a great leader, and great captain of our room, and so he keeps us going in the right direction. He keeps making us better, and I think that's why you've seen over the years there's been so many different guys that come through the LB room, but the position group hasn't had a lot of drop off.
You think he runs maybe 3-4 miles in practice?
I wouldn't be shocked if he getting a lot of steps in.
Demario, I think one of the biggest elephants that hasn't been talked about is that every other team in the NFL is trying to get to your home field to end their season. That factored in with the fact you've missed the playoffs the last 2 years. How much of those two elements really coming together into the motivation y'all have now?
Yeah, I don't think I need to build too much talk around that, man. Everybody understands that the Super Bowl is in our home, and that means something. The Super Bowl is in New Orleans, and whether that needs to be a hashtag that the Super Bowl is coming to NOLA, or it's coming to New Orleans, it's getting ready, whatever that needs to be, where everybody understands that has a meaning to it, the Super Bowl is coming to New Orleans. And that means when you get to the playoffs, you have the opportunity to play every game at home. And so it's a long journey to that point, and a lot of work got to be done. And if that means something to it, if that means something to you, it's going to show. And it means something to me, and it means something to this team.
When you look back at the defense last year, if you feel like you guys did underperform, what are some areas that you think collectively you guys as a unit at least maybe want to improve on this year?
First of all, I don't think we underperformed as a defense. I just think there was areas. I mean, we were still statistically ranked very high in a lot of defensive categories. So I wouldn't call it underperformance. But what I would say is our standard is greatness. And over the years we've been top 5 in almost every category defensively since I've been here. And our standard is greatness, and it's challenging. Offenses are dynamic. Offenses are explosive, but we got the guys and we got the coaches to be dominant, and that's what our mindset is. And so the way that we practice is how we get there. One of our main things is not what you play, it's how you play, and that's what we focus on, making sure that we got our process right, that we're playing the right way, that we're faster than our opponent, and we're more physical than our opponent, and that there's a lot of violence happening out there on that field where teams watch us and they feel fear. And so, but that's on us. We got to put the work in. That's the only way to get there.
As long as you've known Dennis and played for him, both as a coordinator and head coach, how do you feel about the I guess pressure that's on him to get better results, and your observations about how he's addressing that and how he's handling that?
I mean, I don't know, how he's handling that or whatever, but I know how I feel about him. And he's the right man for the job. And to be in this situation, to be where we are and have underperformed, and now we got to rise to the occasion. And I've been going to war with this man for 7 years. And when the pressure's on, he always putting us in a position to win. He always putting us in a position to succeed. And that's all you can ask for a coach. He's giving us every opportunity to succeed. And so when I look at it, he's the right guy. And so my confidence going forward and my belief going forward is through the roof. So I don't know about like what you're talking about as far as response, because I don't keep up with a lot of it, and so like I don't know what all is being said and what I was being responded to. But when I talk about my belief in my coach, man, I'm ready to go to war. And when I get ready to go to war, I want him out there with me, because the success I've had has been directly attributed to him. I would not be the player that I am today without him. And I played my best football since being here, and he is probably the highest person that's responsible for that, outside of my own work, my own individual work. And so, man, my belief and confidence is through the roof in him. And so we just got to get to it. We got to put the work in, and when we get out there on Sunday, we have to have a product that our fans are proud of. And I believe he's the right man to make sure we got that.
Demario, it actually seemed like you made a couple comments on social media this year. Like, well, once defending him, I think, when something came up, Tyron started and you followed up. But also some things you said about Derek, like positive about Derek. Was there a recognition from you that the fans had been kind of turning on this team and you wanted to be more vocal about standing up for these guys? Yeah,
absolutely, man. I think, man, first of all, it's a hard game. And I understand our fan base desire for winning, because I've been a part of that winning. And when you get used to winning, the standard is high. It's very high. But you have to understand that a transition happened in our organization, right? Sean Payton leaves, Drew Brees leaves. And so the standard is that they're going to be where they were at the end of their tenure with the Saints, at the beginning. And so I think that's unfair standard. That's an unfair balance. But I've been in the trenches with both of these guys. And when I tell you Derek is the right quarterback, he's the right quarterback. When I tell you DA is the right head coach, he's the right head coach. And I've been here to see the good times and the bad times. So I know, but they're the right men for the job. And that's what my belief is. Our mentality is the Super Bowl is coming to New Orleans. That's our mindset. And when I'm telling you that these are the right men for the job, it's the right men for the job. And I don't know. I think there may be a series of doubt around them. Well, I don't think there's a series of doubt around me. And if there ain't no series of doubt around me, and I'm telling you they're the right people, you just got to believe that. And we got to roll with that, because as a city, we got to be united in trying to get where we're trying to go. We cannot be divided.
So what made you want to feel? I mean, did you feel like, in a leadership role, I kind of want to stand up and like say something publicly? Or?
No. I don't think I didn't feel a need to stand up and say something publicly. I'm just stating what I believe. I'm just stating my stance from who I am as a person. I don't believe that either of them need a defense or they're looking for a defense or anybody's looking for a defense. I think as a unit, as a whole, we have underperformed. And that's going to be pointed at certain people just because of the nature of the business. I think, when you win, it's pointed at certain people. Like the O-line never gets recognition for when you run for 200 yards. You know what I'm saying? That's the nature of the beast. Just like when you lose, certain people are going to get pointed at. And I don't think a defense is necessarily needed for anybody. So I'm not trying to stand up and state anybody's case. I'm standing on what I believe and who I am as a person. And I'm not going to sell wolf tickets to nobody.
And just one more on Derek, because I know you've gotten close over the last year plus. He said a couple times that it took him a little longer than he expected to maybe acclimate to a new team, to the city. Have you seen kind of a shift at all from him in terms of, does he feel more comfortable? Does it seem like he's more acclimated this year?
I mean, you just look at the back end of the season. He tore it up. And if we can start how we finished, we're gonna be all right. I mean, if anybody judges us by our last 6-7 games of the season, you just look at it. You know what I mean? And if we can start like that, we're gonna be okay.
You kind of touched on it, but do you feel like the criticism that Derek got last year was like people just expected Drew Brees, or like how much does Drew's shadow loom over this organization still? Does it?
I don't know what kind of criticism he got or anybody got. I mean, like I said, I don't pay attention to it, so I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I can understand the desire to win from our fan base. And I mean, we were the most winning team in the regular season for like 3-4 years, and but at the same time, that was the back end tenure of Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and so that was at the height of our organization. So I can understand continuing to want that, even though there's been a shift. And so who's that gonna fall on? It's gonna fall on the quarterback. It's gonna fall on the head coach, because those are the positions that have changed. So I don't know what kind of criticism was there, but it's to be expected, especially when that desire is there. But winning changes everything, and that's what the real problem is. We're not winning. It is not an individual or position. We're not winning, and when we can get back to winning, it'll take care of business. And there's only one way in this business to get back to winning, and that's to put the work in. All right, thank y'all. Be blessed.